Day 31 in quarantine. The barber is still closed. My hair is so long I have to wear a hat in almost every video now. What's up guys? I found a new video. It's really interesting. It's about the Balkan Slavs. And I know a lot of people were like complaining because my gamer name used to be, my gamer tag used to be Mr. Slavic. And this is why I called my YouTube channel initially Mr. Slavic, and a lot of people were always commenting, "Oh, Balkan people not Slavic, Bosnians are not Slavic, you are not Slavic." Not that I really give a shit about that, because I mean, whatever spins your noodle, I guess. But I found this video on the strange history behind the Balkan Slavs, which is like a really interesting video, and it highlights a lot of things about that area that I found really interesting, and it may help explain you the Balkan area in a bit. So I wanted to go ahead and check this video out with you guys. So here we go.
The Balkans are definitely one of the most politically explosive regions of Europe, and proof that the rise and fall of nations is far more complicated than most give credit for. The Balkans are quite the anomaly in Europe today, as on one side you have Romania.
We're quite an anomaly in Europe today. You hear that? That's 100% correct. We are one bunch of weird oopsies in one area.
Romanians, whose language and culture can be linked to ancient Roman colonists who were the last to survive east of Italy, along with the Hungarians, whose language comes from a group of ancient Uralic migrants, while on the other corner of the peninsula there are the Greeks, who of course need no introduction, along with Albanians and Turks. And sandwiched right in the middle there are a multitude of Slavic republics, but whatever you do, don't call them Russians. Never call them Russians.
Whatever you do, don't call us Russians. Never call them Russians. Sounds like someone had a bad experience right there. No, don't call us Russians.
Instead, these Slavs belong to a unique subgroup that's been in the making for over 1,000 years. Although, as always, there are such a multitude of historical and political nuances that have shaped each individual country, it's very difficult to accurately tell a comprehensive narrative of the region without starting a third Balkan War.
I love it how this guy tells this story. You're doing a good job, man. Like, you cannot explain anything about this region without starting a third Balkan War. That's basically right. Look at my comment section on videos where I made a response to certain subjects in the region, and you'll know why.
Despite having many cultural, genetic, and linguistic similarities, the Balkan Slavic region is one of the most politically fragmented areas of the entire world.
Yeah, definitely agree on that one.
Divided between 7-ish countries, but despite having a very volatile political climate, these nations have some very interesting histories tied to many other regions of Europe and beyond. Nearly everyone has heard of Yugoslavia, but there were many other groups to significantly impact.
Might surprise you that even a lot of Europeans don't know anything about Yugoslavia. It just seems to me that they try to chuck this part of history under the floor mat, to say so, just to forget about it, cover it with sand. And it's really annoying me because it's such a big part of history in Europe, and it had so much impact, like what the partisans did, like from World War II on. It's just ridiculous that it doesn't get like taught, I don't know how you want to call that, schools to children and other kids like other history does. So it just keeps surprising me why they just want to cover that up.
The area throughout the millennia, and the fallout from these periods of conquest has left such an imprint on the mindsets of these new countries that it indirectly tore the region apart, a process which actually has its own name, Balkanization. In fact,
Balkanization? I didn't know that it had its own name.
even today, many Croats and Serbs will actually pretend not to understand each other, despite speaking two very similar dialects of what is essentially the same language. So what?
Wow, that has changed. This video that I'm watching right now, this strange history behind this Balkan Slavs, is from 2018, and even then it already changed. Not a lot of people were acting like they didn't know the language, and if they do, they're like really pricks, and it's just like the bad people, you know, you can pick out from any group or from any society. So just ignore that. If you have some confrontation with someone doing like this, just leave. Just let it go. Let it go. Those are people living under a rock.
What's the story behind this rambunctious group of brothers who never can seem to get along?
A group of brothers who never can seem to come along. Oh, look at them.
The genesis of the South Slavs actually begins over 1,000 years ago, but before the migration from the core of the Slavic homeland, there were many other Indo-European groups living in this region, including the Thracians in the southeast, Illyrians on the western coast, who may or may not have evolved into the modern-day Albanians, but that line of thinking is more popular in the nation of Albania rather than in the Slavic nations, many of whom also sort of think of themselves as the successors of the Illyrians. But definitely two of the biggest players in the Balkans 2,000 years ago were the Latin and Greek peoples, as the Roman province of Dalmatia, located in the eastern Balkans, was one of the most heavily Latinized areas in the Roman Empire. Around the 6th century AD, during the migration period of Europe when Germanic tribes and others were moving around the continent, another group of quote-unquote barbarians that entered the Roman Empire came from the Slavic homeland in modern Ukraine. These Slavs, along with the Goths, settled in the European half of the Byzantine Empire, and in only a couple short centuries, the formerly Latin-speaking province of Dalmatia had been replaced by Slavic peoples, or at least assimilated into the new Slavic culture, although a very small subsection of the Dalmatians survived and live on today as the Istriots, located in the Istrian Peninsula in modern Croatia.
Yeah, that's true. The regions in Croatia, like all the cantons / regions, however you want to call it, really differ from history and from people, from also from like the culture. Not a lot, but there are some minor differences from all those regions, and they have like different dialects as well, and it's really interesting to see.
Now, here's where things get confusing. During this migration period, after the establishment of the Slavs in the Balkans, another non-Indo-European group also came to the Balkans, known as the Bulgars. Now, interestingly, the Bulgars were actually a Turkic people group from the steppes of Eurasia, not too far from where the ancient Magyars also hailed from, and these Bulgars established the Bulgarian Empire, which was naturally centered around modern Bulgaria in the Southeast Balkans. But this, of course, is not to be confused with the modern-day Bulgarian language, which was actually around during the time of the First Bulgarian Empire. The Bulgars took over much of the Byzantines' European territory and are also the reason that Hungary is, well, Hungary, as they were the ones who forced the Magyars further west into Pannonia. Even though the Turkic Bulgars were responsible for the creation of the Bulgarian Empire, this was an interesting case where the native population previously living there was not assimilated into the dominant culture, and the Bulgar language gradually
I had no idea about this Bulgar history. Not whatsoever.
fell Bulgar nation. The Bulgars were Turkic, but weren't actually Turkish Turks, as originating in northern Eurasia, their culture and gene pool were obviously very different from the Turks of Anatolia, and although the Bulgar language went extinct sometime around the 10th century AD, the last descendant of the Bulgar language is actually Chuvash in Russia, and the Chuvash people most likely display the phenotype of the ancient Bulgar people who conquered much of the Balkans. Although the Bulgars and Slavic Bulgarians were originally paganistic, the adoption of Orthodox Christianity in the 9th century was extremely important, because if this event had never occurred, it's possible Christianity would have never spread to Eastern Europe, or at the very least the Orthodox Christian world would be far different than it is today. The Byzantine Empire defeated the Bulgars and briefly reclaimed the lost Balkan territory before a second Bulgarian Empire was established by actual Slavic Bulgarians this time, and this was one of the catalysts for the demise of the Byzantines and rise of the Ottoman Turks across the Bosphorus. In the 15th century, the Ottoman Empire defeated and dissolved the last of the Byzantines, along with the Bulgarian and Serbian empires, sweeping through most of the Balkans and subjugating the Balkan Slavs for several hundred years, along with the Albanians, Greeks, and briefly the Romanians and Hungarians, although Croatia and Slovenia were able to successfully repel the Ottoman advances. During this time period, many interesting things happened demographically in the Balkans. Large numbers of ethnic Turks from Anatolia settled in the region, many regional identities began to form among the Slavic peoples, and many of the native Balkan peoples opted to turn to Islam in order to gain favor in the new Ottoman society, which was especially common in Albania, but smaller numbers of South Slavs also converted to Islam, segregating themselves into the various ethnic groups we see today. And this is essentially one of the biggest largest factors in the ethnic identity of these South Slavic peoples, with Croatians and Slovenians mostly adhering to Roman Catholicism, while groups such as the Bosniaks and Gorani are Islamic Slavs in the West Balkans, while the Torbesh and Pomaks are Islamic Slavs in the East, and all other ethnicities, including the Bulgarians, Macedonians, Serbs, and Montenegrins, are a part of the Orthodox Christian world. As mentioned in the beginning, the Croatian, Serbian, Bosniak, and Montenegrin languages are all mutually intelligible, being a part of the wider Serbo-Croatian language, with the main difference being Croatian is written in the Latin alphabet, while all others use Cyrillic. But they also have slightly different standard forms and are considered separate languages only for political reasons, which
Exactly, only for political reasons. This is the only reason why they say there are different languages. It's all the same language.
With the Kingdom and later Republic of Yugoslavia formed in the 20th centuries out of the ashes of the former Ottoman Slavic republics, excluding Bulgaria. Considering their cultural and linguistic similarities, one would assume that this Balkan Slavic nation would have been a united powerhouse, and for
which it was for a very long period of time.
It was. However, following the fall of the Iron Curtain, Yugoslavia saw a split like no other, being plagued by countless civil wars and cases of non-stop violent and ethnic cleansing, with one of the only post-Yugoslav countries spared being Slovenia in the north. During the Yugoslav period,
always Slovenia. Slovenia always getting away with it. Just kidding.
Politicians such as Josip Broz Tito attempted to dismantle the ethnic divisions among the Yugoslav constituents and promote a single unified Yugoslav identity.
Which I still promote, nothing to do with communism, but what I still promote one identity for all the people who are living there, because we are one people with different religions, but culture-wise, 99% the same. Language-wise, 90% the same. 99% the same. So, it just doesn't make any sense, the shit that we're doing now, but political reasons, of course.
As he himself was born to a Croat father and Slovenian mother. Although partially successful, the divisions resumed after the dissolution and even amplified in some cases, as the new republics are more divided than ever, despite having much in common. There were previously large Serb minorities in Croatia and vice versa, although in the past couple of decades after the dissolution of Yugoslavia, there has been an unofficial population exchange between the two countries, with the majority of these communities moving back to their home nations, despite many times living in the area for generations. The Balkan Slavs are separated from the rest of the Slavic peoples across the Black Sea, although the region of Dobruja in modern Romania was formerly inhabited by Slavic Bulgarians, although in the 20th century virtually the entire ethnic Bulgarian population was expelled in a population exchange with Romania, hence severing the connection between the greater Slavic region. In addition to being linguistically connected, nearly all South Slavs belong to the I2 haplogroup, which is also dominant in nearby Romanians, which does show that despite speaking different languages, Romanians are most closely related genetically to Slavs than to Italians or other Romance peoples. Approximately 30 million members of the South Slavic peoples today, divided between these many countries.
Yes, they call us South Slavs, just like Yugoslavia. So people are saying, no, the Balkans are not Slavic. You just need to shut up, okay? He just explained to you in an entire video how it is partially Slavic.
As well as a growing diaspora not only in the United States, but especially neighboring Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, where an estimated 6% of people have origins in the former Yugoslavia, mostly due to their wealth, proximity, and relative stability. However, there are also far older communities of Croats and Serbs and other parts of the world.
Argentina. I know this. I have one of my friends travels a lot, and he said that he ran into a Croatian community in Argentina, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was true. They spoke Croatian there, and they had Croatian flags and everything.
Including a colony of Croatians on the island of Tierra del Fuego, just a stone's throw away from Antarctica, a topic we discussed a few months ago. All these nations, religions, cultures, and countries add up to a pretty fascinating landscape, even if it is one of the more politically volatile regions on Earth. So please go ahead and let me know your thoughts on the Croats, Serbs, Bulgarians, Macedonians, Slovenians, Bosniaks, and even the Montenegrins. And as for Kosovo, well, we don't talk about Kosovo. For today's poll...
Well, we don't talk about Kosovo, because that would trigger a lot of bullshit again.
Go ahead and let me know which region or organization the future of the Balkan Slavs is intertwined with. And as always, this has been Mason. Thanks for watching, everyone. Vidječujte sljedeći put.
Such a legend. So if you guys want to check out the original video is from Mesaman. His channel is called Mesaman. The video is called The Strange History Behind Balkan Slavs. I really like this video. I cut out a couple of things that were just taking too long, which are not relevant for the group that are watching my kind of videos. But the main point here is that there is a big Slavic culture in ex-Yugoslavia and in the Balkan region. Even though a lot of people are saying that it's not true, historically seen, it played a huge part, and it's still a huge part. Then coming to the ex-Yugoslav region, to say so, it's the same language, only different for political reasons. It's the same culture, only different for political reasons. Different religions, I agree on this one, but still amplified differences for political reasons. So it's the same region, and as he said, Yugoslavia was just a powerhouse until one point where it breaks away when the Iron Curtain fell. It is a strange history, and I think he did a great job explaining it, so give him some props by liking his video as well. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this video. I hope you guys like this video, and I see you in the next one. Ciao.
Perfect.